news, but every small business owner is desperately figuring out how to weather this storm. Customers disappearing, revenues plunging, some businesses even being ordered to shut up shop entirely, and who knows how long that'll last. We've seen the government attempting to soften the blow via tens of billions in relief packages. A $40 billion lifeline being thrown to business in the form of 3-year unsecured loans of up to $250,000, the first 6 months interest-free. Now, apparently the banks today have been swamped by inquiries of all sorts, but I'd say this has been a large part of it. Judo Bank's a new player in the banking sector. It specialises in small business lending, and the CEO is Joseph Healy. Joseph joins me on the line now. Hi, Joseph.
Hi, Brooke.
Now, I'm keen to chat to you today for lots of reasons, but one of which is because you were the head of business banking at NAB also during the GFC. So how has this crisis compared to what you saw from the inside back in 2008 and the few years after that?
It's a fundamentally different type of crisis. I mean, back in 2008, the crisis sat within the financial system, and the banks everywhere were concerned about their own viability. I mean, the Australian banks fortunately came through that largely unscathed, but they didn't know that at the time. And so the banks were very concerned about their ability to fund businesses and households. This is a very different scenario because the crisis is across the whole society, not just within the financial system. But it's different also because we actually have a very strong financial system. All of our banks are, by world standards, amongst the strongest banks. So it's a very, very different dynamic today. And the fortunate news is that the banks are strong and well placed to help support small to mid-sized businesses.
Yeah, and from all we can see, trying to do everything they can at the moment to help keep business going. And I want that to be a theme of Money News too. How do we keep business going to get out the other side? Tell us about these loans and how you think they're going to work.
Well, I think the loans that all the banks are grappling with in terms of how they will administer the loans are a very positive development. I mean, businesses will be able to contact the bank and get access to this line of credit, which will help with working capital. And every business therefore should make sure that they have that as part of their plan. The bigger issue, I think, is $250,000 enough? For some businesses, it may be. For many businesses, it may not be. Much will depend on just how long this state of crisis lasts. If it lasts for a month or two, then and the vast majority of businesses, $250,000, together with other steps that the banks have announced, should allow businesses to get through to the other side.
But it sounds like a one-size-fits-all approach, which is suggesting not necessarily an implementation be exactly the way it might work out.
Well, it is a one-size-fits-all approach, and of course every business is different. Yeah. And the thing that concerns me about the administration of this whole package is that banks have progressively over the last number of years been pulling away bankers dealing with customers and pointing customers to call centres. And so that expertise in dealing with business customers and using judgment rather than formula has largely been lost to the banking system. And I worry that small businesses, very panicked about what is going on, will be able to speak to people who really understand their business and give them the right kind of financial advice beyond the $250,000, $100,000.
Yeah. Well, small business is unfortunately used to getting the runaround, but it might be worse than ever. And I see call volumes to some of the banks at 200 times the normal volume of the inquiries in the example of ANZ that I saw today. I'll ask you, bank shares have been absolutely dumped today because there's fears of bad debts, businesses failing. What's happening for you right now?
Well, we're still a relatively young bank. We've been a bank for just coming up for a year. We've got 600 plus customers across predominantly Victoria and New South Wales. We've got close to 70 relationship bankers, so close to 9 customers per banker. So our bankers are able to go and see businesses, sit down with them and understand what they need to do, planning out for 6 months. That's a very difficult thing for the large banks to do, just given the sheer volume of customers and also the reduced number of bankers that they now have.
Is there a risk with all this money going around, and as you said, maybe this one-size-fits-all approach? I understand what you're saying, but for all of the lenders, is there a risk that these loans get provided to businesses who are just going to fail anyway? As in money that's just not ever going to be paid back. In environments like this, it's the type of thing you see, right?
Undoubtedly. I mean, the level of risk in the business community has significantly increased, and there will be some businesses, unfortunately, that will not recover. So I think the risk associated with the lending, the $250,000 lending, is very high. I mean, that is, people do that with their eyes wide open. That overall, it's better to do this and not do it, even accepting that there'll be a higher level of bad debts than we'd normally see.
Yeah, we won't get it perfect, but we're giving a red hot go. Just finally, before I lose you, just give us a couple of simple steps that small businesses can take to not only cope but to survive this disaster. What are you saying to small business at the moment, Joseph?
Well, I think be realistic. You know, don't be overly optimistic and don't panic. But plan out 6 months. Don't plan month to month. Say, assume that this crisis is going to continue for 6 months. What do I need to survive? And be prepared to think through the risks in your business, and then approach your bank with a well thought through request for additional finances. And my guess is that the vast majority of small businesses will need financial support well beyond the $250,000. But it's important that small businesses plan as best they can and be realistic, erring on the side of caution, but not panicking.
Joseph Healy from Judo Bank, thank you very much. Appreciate your expertise, and good luck. It's been a big week for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brooke.
Joseph Healy, CEO of Judo Bank. Now,